Hi, I'm Sriharsha. Welcome to my show on innovation. So today my guest is Pavan and Anu. They're the founders of Workbench projects. So welcome to my show. And do let me know what you do here at Workbench.
I'll let Anu start.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sri, to getting us on the show. Pavan and I run this space called Workbench Projects. It's kind of a very interesting journey that we have that will set the context. If I may, I will state that.
Yes, please.
Yeah? We both come from two diverse practices. Pavan is trained as a mechanical engineer and someone who had the Western exposure of working largely in the 3D printing space. And I come from the arts practice background. I had some exposure largely in the United Kingdom, worked there for very briefly. But coming back to India for us was about reclaiming our own passion and also trying to build something that we were going to see that it fosters and builds a community at large. So our journeys came together when we had taken up a project together to build something and see whether we can cross-disciplinarily function. Is there an interesting way where engineers could talk to artists could talk to, say, space designers, and space designers talking to communication people, kind of a different exercise in a route that we've always been talking but never had experienced. So we got on a task in our former avatars to build something for school children, to build a physical space to help them learn mathematics and sciences in very interesting, tangible ways. Hands-on, yeah.
But I see what's happening currently is much beyond for the school children, right?
Yeah.
You guys are supporting entrepreneurs and
Right.
And I see this is not an incubation center.
Yes,
right?
it is not.
So there are a lot of machines which I see across your office.
Yeah.
So could you let me know what exactly you do here?
So that exercise actually brought us to the fact that we did not have a prototyping space in the city.
Yeah.
While we're trying to build something. So we were running helter-skelter, looking for machines, and people trusting us to use those machines, which is never the case, because it's a huge liability for somebody to let us invest our
And
time.
of course,
on that.
it's eating into their time of making more money. So
Because all these are like ideas in the margins, they're all still to take shape. So we decided that we're going to have our own prototyping space for people like us who may have some very altruistic ideas, may not be the the $1 million company building exercise, but something that's genuine, something that has real scope and is in the need of the hour. So the space was built for people who have ideas so that they can take those ideas to fruition, largely with their hands-on experiences in building it themselves. So this is largely a public laboratory of sorts. It is a prototyping space, and gladly enough, the time that we set it out, we were also very soon recognized by the Fab Foundation to be one of the Fab Labs in India.
Awesome. And why did you choose your place to be in a metro station?
well, it was quite simple. I'll actually talk on behalf of Anupama right now, because it was her vision to work with the government a lot, because that's what she's been doing for a while now. That's been her practice. So in all her previous avatars with the different jobs and roles that she's held, she's always worked with the government very closely. And she's a strong proponent of this thing that the government can be your biggest customer and the government can be like, the biggest partner that you can get. And that's true, right? Because governments are bigger than corporations, governments are bigger than people and everything. So when this happened, we had a very interesting kind of a conversation when in our previous avatar with our math and science kind of activity, building spaces and all of these things. We'd worked with the government, which is BMRCL, and then during the opening of MG Road. And we created a very nice space for them, like a traveling exhibition of sorts, and which attracted a huge number of footfall and created a nice buzz around the entire metro station itself, because we were associated with them from the start. And then some time passed by, and then one of the gentlemen just reached out to us and said, what are you guys up to? I mean, you guys did something amazing, and then you moved and then never really got back to us. We like to be in touch. What are you guys up to? Can you guys come and do something with us again? That's when we told them that we have started a new company called Workbench Projects, and blah blah blah. This is the things that we do. They got really excited and they said, so how are you going to make this happen? So then it was a journey of applying for the tender, bidding for it, and then all of these happened. And of course, the entire thing took a long time, but thanks to Anupama, otherwise I would have given up. I mean, I would have said that, well, as a corporation, right? Nobody waits for so long to get things done, because we are always in the commercial side of things. We're like, can we get a commercial property? Can we install this really quick? What's my ROI? How am I going to start operations and all of these? But then, since we are definitely not a normal company, I mean, we are very different. We've set up as a company, but then we're doing so many things that is unlike a company. And even if you look at our balance sheet, although we are sustainable right now, we're not like those huge corporations milking the system, right? So it's fine for us. We've taken that conscious call.
Because it's largely a sensibility that comes from how do you reclaim a public space. I think for Workbench project that was always a philosophy.
Okay.
That you
A
want
responsible
to be out
innovation
to
sorts.
be there, accessible largely to the citizenry, and at the same time making a meaningful engagement in a public space.
Yeah. That's what I could see. I mean, you've turned out the whole place into an exotic.
Well, we hope it's not exotic, but people will start appreciating for what it is and getting their hands dirty. Because what happens is places like these starts becoming like a museum. Like people come and then they're like, oh, it's so prim and proper, we don't want to touch anything. That's not what we want to breed, right?
So we're sitting in a coolest cafe in Hangzhou metro station.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's a total transformation, right?
Absolutely.
So you guys focus on innovation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of things on the wall which talks about disruptive innovation.
Yes.
Right? So innovation is not a culture in India. That's what a lot of people talk about it in the West, right?
True.
So you have taken that step to change the mindset.
Yes.
Right? So what's the journey so far, and what is your vision in your disruptive innovation?
Right.
Fair enough. So to begin with, I think there are several projects that we have kind of bagged for responsible innovation, and Anu and I are those kind of people who are very research oriented. So that's why we start working towards our own passions first, right? Because without passion, nothing comes about, right? So what we do is we start picking on each other and figure out who is passionate about what. And then once we figure out that passion area, then we complement each other by adding different perspectives to it. And then what we do is we start looking at what opportunities lies or what problems lie in that area. And then we start kind of writing a proposal towards solving it.
Yeah.
And that's how we are. We are always like these people who are researching and bouncing ideas, writing proposals and sending it out to the relevant parties. So be it Red Cross in Geneva that we backed a project to build assistive devices for people with disability, for especially locomotor skills. Or be it Intel, where we wrote for putting technology in the hands of young girls, like talking about how can you teach them electronics, how can you teach them a little bit of coding for 5th to 8th graders who are generally not in the we're not privileged to attend these kind of sort. So where we apply where we write to Intel saying that can you fund us to run this for like 1200 girl children.
Okay.
Or looking at women entrepreneurs in the city, and then how can we promote these women entrepreneurs to come to the forefront.
So what Pavan is talking about is one side of things is that we're creating an ecosystem. The other side is like you asked us a very relevant question, what's the kind of innovation that's happening?
Yeah.
Now these are initiatives that we drive that need not necessarily land up becoming something that's patent worthy
as a
immediately.
product.
It's a process. But you should know that Workbench Projects as an organization is harnessing individuals to build their projects. So that becomes very relevant to you because we see that a lot of our members are in the innovative thinking process and extremely being disruptive in nature.
Okay.
So we have members like say who is a full-fledged architect through the day, is passionately working like a scientist at the end of the day. He's trying to build a tidal wave energy harvester for the coastal belt of Pondicherry be installed in affordable housing system. So which means that at least 30% of the energy can be drawn from the ocean bed itself. So so he's going through a patentable exercise now.
Okay.
So now that's an innovation that's coming out of Workbench Projects. What's Workbench Projects doing there is it's creating conditions for him to arrive to a prototyping phase, go through the prototyping here, and at the same time if the product has a novelty in all its sense and merit, then goes through a patent advisory committee. So I'm giving you one such example, whilst we have the others. Now, what Pavan just mentioned about Red Cross Society, now that's a project proposal that we wrote, right? We got a grant, but we were not the people who were sitting and building it ourselves. We were creating an environment where we invited people to make use of that grant and have the ability to, not bother about other things, but actually build and make those assistive devices, which took to the extent that some of how many applications did we receive?
140 worldwide. 143 worldwide.
So, of which around 3 of them have got seed funded.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So which means that there is merit, there's scope, there are people looking for it. Often in India, I think it's the conditions that becomes a constraining factor. Be it the physicality of the space, be it the mentorship that they need. Third, it is also about an environment which is about extremely being collaborative. So what we try to do is create those conditions. So innovation can happen and it can start thriving. It's not that we are sitting and innovating all the time.
But I'll give you a flip side to what the reality bite is also. Now, that's true that Workbench Projects is not innovating in terms of products, but I would use another word in collaboration with all of these words, that is yet. Right? Because we're a very small team. We're a team of just 5 people. Who are doing a lot of things. I mean, if you even have to look at our 2015's kind of portfolio, the range of activities that we've done is quite diverse. And of course, the whole idea is eventually, since we have all the resources here, we should be able to innovate ourselves. We should have a team that will innovate with us, because we have certain ideas that can be brought into life. But the only problem is, since we are such a small team and we are doing too many things, it's really hard. See, research and innovation needs that dedicated time, right? It needs focus, it needs dedicated time, and we generally use this. It needs the aptitude to fail. It needs the failure cost to be low, right? That's what we are making available at Workbench Project. But we are not able to avail that ourselves because we are trying to make this platform stabilize. And then of course, I would love to work on a bunch of ideas that I have towards innovation and patenting and all of these things. But it's unfortunate or fortunate, in whatever way we have to look at it, that first we are looking at stabilizing Workbench Projects as a company that facilitates innovation, and then harness our own ideas later to innovate.
So I've put it in a couple of sentences, right? So it's like you're providing a conducive environment where people can come, think, and come up with their own prototype, and if they have to fail, they know they're failing fast, and the failing cost is very, very low.
Exactly.
So I think that's a fear that most of Indians have, that once we fail, we don't move on to the next one. Exactly. So
and that's where we want to build the support system, because you have noteworthy ideas which are just not taking flight simply because of these limiting factors. Maybe many other factors as well. So at least Workbench Projects will provide that platform for them to feel free to go and exercise in their spare time. Not that they have to be here through and through as academics, right? So it's out of those confines and bounds.
So somebody has an idea, they walk into Workbench. Right? So they come and they say, what is your process, right? Innovation process. What's a journey? You go along with that idea. So I mean, there are certain departments that you already have, the printing, the lathe, and mechanical, and all those stuff. Something which is not there, how do you facilitate those guys?
So normally what happens is people know about us largely through, thanks to the World Wide Web.
Social media.
Social media. They land up reaching out to us from the very craziest spaces.
And across the world. I mean, we've had people come down from Denmark, Netherlands, Finland, all of these places, and then they might probably be globetrotting to find such spaces and do different things. But then they ultimately freeze on us, and they come and say, well, I've been to Thailand, I've been to this place, I think you guys have got something that I can work with, so let's start working. So
So normally they drop us an email
Yeah.
and the conversation begins from there. So we kind of invest enough time at the preliminary level itself
Okay.
in kind of spending to know how much they're invested in the idea.
Okay.
So once that is kind of cleared up between us, we kind of have a personal meeting
Okay.
to go through the details of their project plan.
Okay.
You know, do they have a plan in place or don't they have?
Okay.
Where are they coming from?
Okay.
In the sense, what's the readiness of giving time to it? So once that is established, we kind of see how much of in-house collaboration is possible.
Okay.
You know, be it for using our machines, our tools, or our existing mentors. If we see that some of it is out of scope from us, we immediately start reaching out through our network,
Okay.
saying that here's a person with this project, he needs help and time of very specialized people. Guys, if you're there, just call us in.
Now we get a lot of requests, especially in Bangalore, since we're in the Bang hub of IT, right? There's a lot of people which misunderstand our space to be a pure co-working space,
Yeah.
looking for cubicle
Yeah, it's not
space.
an- yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's
so
not
things
the
like
case, yeah.
and people come like this, and we
Right.
of course have a network, right? So
Okay.
the Workbench projects has also built an ecosystem around it,
Right.
right? To support anybody who comes with a request, right?
Yeah.
We might not be directly able to help them, but we are definitely able to help them in one way or the other. So we have had people coming in with hardcore, like IT requests. Forget co-working space. They come with hardcore IT ideas and IT requests. We definitely tell them that we're not the right people for that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it has any element of a hardware thing or an interface thing or a making of some sorts, then we're definitely the people. Even be it the brainstorming side of things for their IT business, it doesn't matter. We're
Okay.
still going to help them, right?
Okay.
So if it's ideation, it's brainstorming, it is design thinking, it is user-centric design, it's human-centric design. We both definitely start diving in deeper and then start associating with that project.
Okay.
But as soon as it comes to providing infrastructure and facilities, we are very picky and choosy about who we want to be with, because we do not want people to come here with an expectation that will not be met. So that we set it right from the get-go. That's our process. So once we set the process, anything in those boundary conditions is fair.
Yeah.
We will make sure that anything is available for them, made available for them, maybe at a small nominal cost. If it's not in-house, we'll bring in a consultant, we'll bring in an expert, we'll bring in expert machines. It depends. So these are the kind of things as a process that we've laid out to
Yeah.
kind of go through and then ensure that we are serving the right people to kind of have the right things coming out of this space. Because ultimately, when we have to talk about what has Workbench Projects done,
Right.
we would want to be proud of who we have been associated with. Unlike just want to say it for the sake of
So
for the
what
sake. of it.
happens is at every single point we try to go back and have a checkpoint. So there are some milestones that we drop for ourselves
Right.
in the process, because there's always a bit of latency in any kind of work that you do. So, and particularly when it is process driven. So checks and bounds, then a reflection time, see
Yeah.
whether there is work happening, not happening. Sometimes we've also said that we've come halfway through the exercise. We know that it's certainly not in alignment and it's best for us to take flight to do it differently. We've done that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I mean, we're not shy of saying that something is not aligning to our space. We will definitely let them know upfront.
Yeah.
We're definitely not shy. We're definitely not going to. We're very transparent that way. I mean, if you see, we don't have cubicles in our
Yeah.
own space,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we just come here, sit like any other member would, use the facilities like any other member would, pay for it if we have to. So just ensuring that we align to our own guidelines and rules,
Yeah.
so that we set an example that others to follow.
yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. More to come, because this is the first series in the entire innovation process. We just talked about innovation process, but there are more to come in terms of what Workbench does and what are the different areas that we're going to focus on. So let's have a couple of more discussions around that later part of it.
Sure.
Yeah. And thank you so much for your time, and
Thank you.
lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.